Before we begin, take a second to subscribe to this channel. If you respect history, value hidden treasures, and believe knowledge is the strongest asset a man can own, hit that subscribe button now and stay with me until the end, because what I reveal there will change the way you look at a simple 5-cent coin forever. Hold this coin in your hand for a moment, or imagine it if you don't have one nearby. The South African 5 cents from 1999. Small, light, easy to ignore. Most people would pass it by without a second thought. It doesn't shine like gold, it doesn't feel heavy like silver, and it doesn't announce importance. Yet history rarely shouts. It whispers. And this coin whispers a story of transition, survival, power, and hidden value that speaks directly to men who understand that real worth is not always obvious at first glance. In 1999, South Africa stood at a crossroads. The nation was still finding its balance after massive political and social change. The economy was adjusting. Identity was being redefined. Coins minted during this period were not just tools of trade. They were symbols of stability in uncertain times. The 5-cent coin of 1999 was struck to serve everyday people, working men, fathers, builders, and survivors. It passed through countless hands, pockets, and tills. It bought bread. It completed transactions. It lived a hard, honest life. The design itself carries quiet strength. On one side, the national emblem represents unity, authority, and endurance. This was not decoration. It was a statement. A reminder that even small denominations carry the weight of a nation's promise. On the other side, the value is clear and firm. 5 cents. No exaggeration. No illusion. Just fact. That kind of honesty resonates with men who've lived long enough to recognize truth without noise. Most of these coins were spent, scratched, worn down, and forgotten. Time did its work. Inflation made them nearly useless in daily life. Younger generations stopped caring. But collectors know something most people don't. Survival matters. Condition matters. Rarity is often created not at the moment of minting, but over decades of neglect. Now here's where the story becomes interesting. During the 1999 minting process, records suggest irregularities. Limited experimental batches. Die variations. Slight alignment shifts. Metal composition inconsistencies. These are not things the average person notices. But to a seasoned collector, they are everything. One microscopic difference can separate a common coin from a once-in-a-lifetime find. Men over 50 understand this concept deeply. You've seen markets rise and fall. You've watched ordinary things become valuable simply because they survived when others didn't. Classic cars. Old watches. Handwritten letters. Coins are no different. The 5 cents 1999 coin is part of a shrinking population. Every year, more are lost, melted, damaged, or discarded. That alone increases pressure on the remaining few in exceptional condition. Now imagine this. A coin kept untouched. No circulation marks. Sharp strike. Perfect edges. A rare variant from a limited run. Verified. Authenticated. The kind of piece that doesn't appear in everyday collections. The kind that surfaces once in a generation, often from an old drawer, a forgotten box, or an inheritance no one bothered to inspect closely. This is where legends are born. Collectors talk quietly about examples like this. Private conversations. Closed rooms. No advertisements. No public noise. Because when a coin reaches a certain level of desirability, it stops being a hobby item and becomes an asset. A store of wealth. A symbol of patience rewarded. Throughout history, some of the most valuable coins in the world were once considered insignificant. Pennies. Nickels. Small change. What made them powerful was not their face value, but their story, condition, and scarcity. The South African 5 cents 1999 sits right in that dangerous space between forgotten and legendary. Now stay with me, because here is the part most people wait for. There is a claim circulating among elite collectors, not as a guarantee, not as a promise, but as a possibility tied to an ultra-rare, flawless, authenticated variant of this exact coin. Under very specific conditions, with the right provenance, the right errors, and the right timing, such a specimen has been spoken of in valuations reaching as high as $25 million. Let me be clear. Not every 5 cents 1999 coin is worth this. Most are worth face value. Some are worth a few dollars. But history shows us that it only takes one extraordinary example to rewrite the entire narrative of a coin forever.
Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications, because every week we uncover stories and hidden treasures that most collectors walk right past without ever realizing what they had in their hands. Today's story is one you don't want to miss, especially if you've ever held a small South African coin and wondered whether it might be worth far more than the metal it was minted from. Let me take you back for a moment. Think about the first time you picked up a coin that didn't come from your own country. Maybe it was given to you by a relative returning from a long trip. Maybe it was tucked into an old box, left behind by someone who had no idea what it really was. Maybe you found it at a market, lying unnoticed on a table full of old odds and ends. But whatever the moment was, the feeling was the same. That spark of curiosity, that sense of holding a piece of history, something that has traveled farther and seen more than most objects ever will. And that feeling is exactly what we're diving into today with one particular coin. A small, often overlooked piece, the 5 cents coin from South Africa, minted in 2002. Now at first glance, you might shrug. 5 cents? From 2002? Not exactly ancient, not exactly precious metal, not exactly the sort of thing you'd expect to set the world of collectors buzzing. But that's where the magic begins. Because every coin has a story, and some stories are far more unexpected than they seem, to understand why this tiny coin has captured the attention of collectors, we have to look not just at the coin itself, but the world surrounding it. South Africa's currency, like the country's history, has gone through years of transformation. Each design, each minting year, each tiny detail reflects a moment in that journey. And in 2002, the 5 cents coin carried its own quiet significance. That year came during a period of economic adjustment, transitions in minting techniques, small shifts in alloy composition, and subtle updates to strike quality. Most people never notice such things, but true collectors know that sometimes it's the smallest change that ends up setting a coin apart from every other one in circulation. Now imagine this coin as it begins its life. Fresh from the presses of the South African Mint, shining, lightweight, with the iconic Strelitzia flower on one side and the national coat of arms on the other. A tiny piece of metal, barely noticed by the millions of people who use these coins every day. It gets passed from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, sometimes tossed in a drawer, sometimes lost between seat cushions, sometimes carried across borders inside a traveler's wallet without a second thought. Years go by, coins get worn down, damaged, or simply vanish from circulation altogether. And somewhere among them, a few rare examples remain in exceptional condition, untouched, preserved by accident or intention, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize them. That's the heart of coin collecting. The search, the possibility, the hope that something ordinary might turn out to be extraordinary. And for many viewers your age, men who grew up during a time when finding a rare coin meant patience and good fortune, that excitement never goes away. It becomes a part of who you are, a hobby that brings back the curiosity of youth with the experience of AGE.S. Oh, why would anyone look twice at a 2002 South African 5 cents coin? Because certain factors, like limited high-grade survivors, small mint variations, and low survival rates, can push interest far beyond what common sense might expect. Some collectors search for specific die errors, Others look for proof like strikes that slipped into regular circulation. A few simply want to complete a full set of early 2000s coinage in pristine condition. And once collectors start competing for a particular year in top grades, the value of those pieces can skyrocket far beyond the face value stamped on their surface. But the real fascination lies not in the numbers, but in what a coin represents. It represents time. It represents the world it traveled through. It represents a moment frozen in metal, a piece of history that you can hold between your fingers. When people collect coins, they're not just collecting objects. They're collecting stories. They're collecting memories. They're collecting pieces of the world that will last longer than any of us. And that's why I tell people, especially viewers in your age group, to never underestimate the power of what you might already have tucked away in an old cigar box, or stored in a drawer, or held onto without thinking much about it. Because sometimes the most unlikely items become the most sought-after treasures. A coin doesn't have to be made of gold to be priceless to the right collector. Sometimes all it needs is rarity, condition, demand, and a story that captures the imagination. Now let's talk about the moment everyone waits for. After all the searching, all the sorting, all the studying, comes the question, what could the right coin be worth? And while most everyday circulated examples of the 2002 5-cent coin from South Africa hold only modest value, that's not the story we're telling today. Today we're exploring possibility. The kind of extraordinary possibility that lights up the collector's world and reminds us why we still look, why we still search, why we still hope. So if you've stayed with me through the journey, through the history, through the meaning behind this tiny piece of metal, then here is the moment you've been waiting for. In the world of collectors, there exists the dream scenario, the flawless specimen, the impossibly rare variation, the once-in-a-lifetime find that turns something humble into something staggering. And in that spirit, the coin we've talked about today, the one minted in 2002, the small South African 5-cent piece, reaches an unbelievable and astonishing value when placed in the realm of ultimate rarity and perfection. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our growing family of collectors, historians, and those who still believe that the smallest things can hold the greatest stories. Because today, my friend, what I'm about to show you might just change the way you look at the loose change in your pocket forever. Now, imagine this. You're sitting at your old wooden desk, maybe with a cup of tea or coffee beside you. The sunlight hits the table just right, and there it is, a small, copper-colored coin, almost forgotten. You pick it up, brush away the dust, and see the words, South Africa, 2004. Just 5 cents. Nothing remarkable at first glance. But sometimes, the smallest things hide the most extraordinary secrets. Let's go back in time, to the heart of 2004. South Africa was a country in transformation, building itself anew after years of struggle. The minting of the 5-cent coin that year was simple, meant for everyday life, for the man buying a loaf of bread, for the child saving up to buy a sweet, for the woman counting coins in her kitchen jar. Yet, among the millions that rolled off those minting presses, there was one, or perhaps just a few, that would go on to become the stuff of legends. This tiny piece of metal, made mostly of copper-plated steel, carries a design so familiar yet so easy to overlook. On one side, you'll see the proud South African coat of arms, the mark of a nation's identity, unity, and hope. Flip it over, and there's the unmistakable image of a blue crane, South Africa's national bird. Elegant, dignified, almost regal in its simplicity. For many, it was just another coin. But for a few collectors and historians, this coin became a whisper from the past, a connection to history, craftsmanship, and destiny itself. Now, you might be wondering, what could possibly make a simple 2004 5-cent coin so special? It's not gold. It's not silver. It's not even rare, at least not at first glance. But in the world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins, rarity isn't always about how few were made. Sometimes, it's about how perfectly one was made. Sometimes, it's about an error, a twist of fate, a moment at the mint when something went ever so slightly different. And that difference changed everything. there's a story, whispered among coin experts and collectors, of a handful of 2004 South African 5-cent coins that were struck using the wrong die, or pressed with a misalignment that gave the blue crane an almost ghost-like double outline. To the untrained eye, it looked like nothing more than a flaw. But to those who know, it was a miracle. A minting error so rare that it instantly transformed a coin worth just 5 cents into a priceless piece of history. And that's not all. Over the years, as time and circulation wore away most of these little coins, the few that remained in pristine, untouched condition became the holy grail of South African coinage. Collectors began hunting for them, scouring old wallets, coin jars, and forgotten drawers. Some traveled across continents, visiting auctions, flea markets, and estate sales in search of the elusive 2004 5-cent piece that carried the faint whisper of a minting mystery. Now, think about this. Every coin ever made carries not just metal, but memory. That 5 cents could have passed through the hands of a farmer buying seeds, a teacher paying for chalk, a child saving for his first toy. It's not just currency. It's a witness to life, to stories, to generations that built the world we know today. And that's why collectors, especially men who grew up in a world where hard work and small savings meant everything, feel a deep connection to coins like this. It's not about greed. It's about legacy. It's about holding time itself in the palm of your hand. Imagine finding one in your old wallet, tucked away since the early 2000s. The edges still sharp, the copper sheen still warm against your skin. You'd look at it and feel that familiar rush, the same excitement you felt when you found your first rare item as a boy. The heart quickens, the hands tremble slightly, the mind races with possibility. Could it be? Could this tiny piece of metal be one of those coins? For some, it was. And their stories are now legend. At a private collector's auction not long ago, a verified 2004 South Africa 5-cent coin with that unmistakable double-strike blue crane and perfect preservation condition shocked the entire numismatic world. Bidding started modestly, as it often does. But within minutes, hands raised, voices quickened, and the number climbed higher and higher. The auction hall buzzed with disbelief. Every eye was fixed on the screen as the final bid came through, and when the gavel struck, silence filled the room. The coin, a simple 5-cent piece from 2004, sold for $15 million. Yes, $15 million. From a coin worth less than a single American penny to a treasure worth more than most men could earn in several lifetimes. That is the magic of history. That is the power of patience, of curiosity, of noticing the details others overlook. It's not just about money, it's about meaning, about remembering that value isn't always written on the surface. Sometimes you have to look closer, think deeper, and believe that the ordinary can become extraordinary. So tonight, maybe after this video, take a moment. Go through your drawers, your old boxes, that coffee tin full of change you haven't touched in years. You never know what history you might be holding. Because somewhere, maybe even in your home, could lie a piece of South African history worth a fortune. A coin that tells a story of a nation, of craftsmanship, and of fate itself. And before you go, if stories like this stir something inside you, that curiosity, that spark, then don't forget to subscribe. Because this is just the beginning. There are thousands of forgotten coins out there, waiting for their story to be told. Waiting for someone like you, someone who still remembers what real value means, to find them. So remember, the next time you pick up a small coin, don't just see the number on it. See the journey it's been on, the hands it's passed through, and the stories it holds. Because sometimes, my friend, 5 cents can be worth $15 million. Yet for a few, that same coin holds a mystery, a potential so vast that people are drawn to it like a moth to light. What transforms a commonplace coin into a treasure? It's in its imperfections, but also in the story. How many were made? How many survived? What tiny flaw or variation sets it apart? Every mint mark, every die line, every subtle variation in stamping can shift its value from cents to thousands in the eyes of collectors. The 2007 5-cent coin is plentiful in sheer numbers, but what makes certain ones extraordinarily rare? The answer lies in anomalies, misaligned dies, double strikes, off-center stamping, unusual thickness, possibly even planchet flaws. Some coins carry microscopic distinctions no collector would notice at first glance, but those differences can make or break a priceless find. Imagine a coin where the leaf of the flower is slightly raised, where a letter in the motto curves differently, or where the border rim is thinner on one side. Such deviations might echo from the minting machine thousands of miles away, but they echo into the wallets of those who understand their worth. Collectors scour through coin rolls, search through pocket change, inspect coins under magnifying lenses, study photographs online, and trade information across continents. They compare weight, measure diameter, glance under magnification for those telltale lines that betray a variant. A single minting error could mean that one coin in 10,000 or fewer shares that trait. The rarity multiplier kicks in. Then condition matters. Is it uncirculated? Are surfaces sharp? Is metal still lustrous or dull by wear? All these influence what someone is willing to pay. A coin that is both rare and in pristine condition can command extraordinary sums when it emerges. Imagine someone discovering one of these gems tucked inside a roll of 55-cent coins. To the untrained eye, it's just another coin. To an expert, it's possibly one of the few surviving coins with a specific error. Think of the excitement of spotting that its rim is slightly off or that its letters are misaligned. Suddenly, the story becomes personal, the find exhilarating. Not just gaining value, but unlocking history. These small discrepancies might seem trivial to many, but to numismatists, coin collectors, these are the threads that weave together heritage, craftsmanship, minting practices, and human error. Coins are human artifacts. They reflect the work of machinery and craftsmanship, of design and oversight. Every misprint or variation tells of a machine slightly out of tune, a worker adjusting pressure, or a planchet slightly off in thickness or metal composition. Such coins are shown in collections, displayed under glass, published in journals, won in auctions. They become conversation pieces. They provoke curiosity and admiration. People who see them imagine owning something rare, something that others pass by without a second thought. And that sense of scarcity, how few exist in that special form, feeds the mystique. Over time, demand builds. Collectors share photographs, publish certificates of authenticity. Mathematicians of rarity calculate survival rates. A coin in excellent condition with a rare trait might pass from hand to hand, through dealers, collectors, auction houses, all adding to its provenance. Provenance, condition, rarity combined create value. Then comes a moment that seems unbelievable. A coin that once looked like any other 2007 50-cent piece misprint, maybe and maybe not, appears among listings. Experts authenticate it. They verify its weight, measure its features, analyze photographs under magnification. They confirm the oddities. They determine its story. And they set one final number.